Hello everybody and welcome to Second Chance MTG. I'm here with Brandon Chambers and we're going to be watching some Legacy action today. Sultai Depths versus Omni-Tell. How are you doing today, Brandon?
Doing pretty well, Alex. Looking forward to seeing this matchup. Got some interesting players playing some interesting decks.
Yeah, I would say the Sultai Depths deck is a mid-range deck splashing for the Dark Depths. It's a really good interaction to have against just a lot of decks in Legacy. Most Merit Lage is really hard to deal with. And the Omni-Tell deck, obviously by the name, is just trying to play Omniscience and cast Into the Infinite, Emrakul, or some other win condition.
You know, and I think right now it's mostly just kind of a more streamlined version of Show and Tell. You're running just a mono blue deck here. You can run a little bit more of a controlling game. You can run a Cunning Wish sideboard, so some of the advantages there.
Yeah,
and we see right away. It looks like Dan's on the play and he's leading off with a Ponder.
Yeah, the Omni-Tell deck was a big evolution with the release of Dig Through Time. It really helped the mono blue deck and allowed it to not have a better mana base and be able to fight its win conditions more handily. But people realized over the years, even with the banning of Dig Through Time, that the mono blue version still has a lot of upsides in comparison to the Sneak and Show variant. Looks like Dan kept off the Ponder. He's going to take a draw. Looks like it's going to be going off to Mike's turn now. He's going to be looking for some disruption this turn, preferably some kind of disruption spell or maybe a threat. It looks like he's going to be passing the turn off.
Polluted Delta, passing the turn.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dan's going to lead off with a second island here.
Okay, it's a little hard to tell what he has in his hand.
It's very, like I see a Jataxian Probe, I see a Cunning Wish.
It looks like he has a Show and Tell in hand, so all he's going to need is something to pair with it, and he'll be off to the races. Looks like Dan's thinking about what he has to do this turn. He probably wants to lead off with the Probe here, just to get a peek at what's going on in Mike's hand. It looks like that's what we're going to do here. He's going to pay mana for the Probe. Interesting. He must not planning on going off this turn.
So...
Okay, looks like
I see a Crop Rotation, a Baleful Strix, a Stifle, a Force of Will, and 2 Life from the Loans from Mike.
All right, this hand's not the greatest for Mike. There's a lot of issue in the matchup. The Life from the Loans aren't particularly great against the Omni-Tell deck because it plays very few non-basic lands, and the Baleful Strix is a really slow clock, though it has Force of Will, so at least he has some interaction.
You know, and he also has that Stifle there, so if Dan gets in a position where he needs to win with or go off with, say, a Lotus Petal, Mike can interact in that way.
It's true. It is another piece of interaction, though not ideal. It could be something that could help him out down the line. It's like, okay, Dan's going to take a draw for his Probe. I believe it's an Ancient Tomb he drew. That's very good. That'll allow him to go off next turn as long as he has a payoff in his hand.
And you know what? It looks like one of the cards in Dan's hand is actually Intuition, so he has the ability to dig up that threat at the end of Mike's next turn.
Oh yeah, that's really good for him here. It looks like Mike's gonna play Reveal. What a nice guy.
Always nice to see some good sportsmanship in Magic the Gathering.
Yes. Looks like it's gonna be Mike's turn here in a second now. Yeah, we're casting a Deathrite Shaman. Okay. It seems fair here. He can hold up Stifle. He can hold up Force of Will. It's a card that can, it's not the best threat in the matchup, but it is something. It looks like he drew another Show and Tell, which is not bad. It'll allow him to go off through the first Force of Will. Now, it looks like Dan's thinking about, he's going to fire off the Show and Tell right now. It looks like he wants to go off to the races right away, and he's going to get the Force of Will out of Mike here. This is an interesting play. I kind of like it, especially if your opponent's going to Force of Will it. Hey. It seems, I think it's a pretty high chance that he will, so it's actually kind of like this play from Dan. Even if he didn't have a payoff here, he gets the Force of Will out of Mike's hand, and now Mike has to dig for more interaction.
You know, it'd be really interesting, Alex, what would happen if Mike actually called Dan's bluff there and allowed the Show and Tell to resolve.
That would be really interesting, though I don't think his hand is very weak right now, so I don't think he's in the position to do it, unfortunately. Though he does have the Crop Rotation in here, and I think he'll be in a very good position to probably grab a Wasteland to take care of that Ancient Tomb here. Because I think he doesn't want Dan to untap with this mana again. And he has Loam, so he can recur the land, so he's not actually losing any resources with it. Looks like he might be casting something else here. That is a Abrupt Decay in his hand. It's not particularly great right now, but it could be good depending on if Bethany leaves a Lotus Petal or something else in play.
And now, Baleful Strix to play, drew a Jace the Mind Sculptor.
It looks like he was thinking about activating Deathrite to cast the Crop Rotation, but decided against it. I'm not a big fan of this play. I think you want to cast the Crop Rotation here because letting Dan untap with the Ancient Tomb is really risky. Looks like he's going for another show and tell. Maybe it must not be a bluff. He must have something in his hand here because he knows that Mike doesn't have another Force of Will unless he drew it here.
Now, what is that last?
Oh, that's Omniscience in his hand. So if he gets Omniscience off, he'll be able to.
That
That makes sense. He has Omniscience, so he's just trying to go for. He has to win right here as long as it resolves. All right, looks like he's going to crop rotation here. All right, so I'm not sure what bullets he has in his deck. Obviously, there's Dark Depths, Destiny Stage, but there might be some other way for him to interact here. I'm curious.
Like, yep, and we're going for Caracas.
Okay.
Mike is going all in on the fact that Dan is going to play an Emrakul off of Show and Tell.
I don't like the Caracas before the Show and Tell resolves because now that Dan has the information, if he had another line of play, he could take it. I think he's better off letting if he thinks Emrakul, letting it come into play first. But regardless, I think it's going to be a game either way here. The Omniscience is probably going to end the game. And there's Omniscience. I guess Mike didn't have anything to put into play here, so.
And at this point, Mike doesn't really have a way to interact with Omniscience, so yeah, it looks like this game's pretty much over.
Yeah, it's interesting. The deck, he's got Intuition, which Dan not being too familiar with this deck, he may not necessarily know what to grab here, but as long as he finds the right pieces, aka 3 of the same thing that will win the game, it should be good enough.
And we see an Emrakul here.
Looks like he saw one thing he likes. Let's see what else he likes here. He's going to go for the diversification kill, where he actually gives his opponent a choice with Intuition.
Is it really a choice, though, if you have your opponent choosing between an Emrakul and an Enter the
Infinite
for the other Emrakul?
It's definitely a choice. Whether or not it is an ideal choice is definitely up for discussion, but he gets to choose the way he goes out here, it looks like. Intuition, one of Magic's more interesting designs, back when... I'm sure this card was designed to be very interesting in a way for Blue to kind of, the situational card draw, which has been really popular in Blue for years. Clearly not designed for the purpose it's being used for here.
And you see Dan considering picking up an extra copy of Emrakul. Well, and that's 2 now, so it looks like he is just going to go straight through for the 3 Emrakuls.
Seems reasonable. It looks like the Emrakul Annihilator will be more enough to finish the game, as well as the extra turn it provides. This game, I think Mike's hand was a little bit weak for the matchup, and also just, not having any pressure in play also gave Dan plenty of time to just sit there, set up his hand, and just set up the situation.
And Dan,
it looks like he's going into the Infinite here.
Decided to go for Enter the Infinite.
I think it's all the same at this point. Though the Emrakul is probably safer, just in case maybe your opponent forgot to counter your first 2 spells in the game, and now they'll remember with Enter the Infinite. But I think regardless, this is pretty safe here. He's going to draw his deck here. That's probably going to be the game. All right, it's like we're casting Enter the Infinite here. It's going to resolve. Dan's going to pick up his deck. He had to put 1 card back, unfortunately, so, can't have everything, I guess.
Let's see what he's looking at here.
Looking like he's looking at Emrakul, reading the wall text on that card. Dan's gonna have to put a card back, so let's hopefully he remembers to do that. He's already winning by enough. He doesn't need the extra card, I think.
Emrakul is the kind of the big creature finish of choice a lot of the times in Legacy. There's not a lot you can do when you're in the face of a Annihilator 6, and if you cast it, you get an extra turn.
Yeah, when Omniscience is on the battlefield, Emrakul is the most surefire way to win the game typically, along with Enter the Infinite. These cards typically don't allow you to make mistakes, and they give you so much resources ahead of your opponent that there's really no way for them to really get out of it once you're casting Emrakul.
And like you said earlier, with Mike crop rotating early for that Caracas, now even if Mike decides to use the Caracas to send Emrakul back to Dan's hand, Dan still gets the cast trigger, so he is going to be able to take another turn.
Yeah,
set Emrakul.
It's elementary at this point. He could cast all the Emrakuls in his hand to actually just float extra turns basically forever with the Omniscience, so I believe that there's just no way for Mike to get out of this. It looks like Dan might be realizing that. He might just cast another Emrakul just to make sure. Now, he's going to have to discard the hand size this turn, so I think he's going to have to...
Mike's activated the Caracas.
Okay, so Mike's making him pick up the Emrakul again. I wonder if he'll just cast it again here.
Yep. Oh, maybe not. Wait, Dan moves to his extra turn.
It's looking like he's going to cast Emrakul again. I think Dan is reveling in his victory here, I assume. It looks like he's casting Intuition. Well, Dan, unfortunately, you don't have any cards left in your library, so Intuition's not going to do a lot.
Take that back.
I mean,
oh, and it looks like we're going for Cunning Wish. You might have just pulled the wrong card.
Okay, well, he's casting Cunning Wish. It's fine. I mean, at this point, is he putting Laboratory Maniac? He's casting Laboratory Maniac. He's going to cast the Intuition.
At this point, I think we're just sending a message.
It looks like Mike is tired of.
He's gonna go ahead.
He's tired of the Eons toying with his life. So he's calling it a day here. Yeah, this game was very elementary for the.
Dan's continuing to try and play the game.
Yeah, the Omni-Tell deck. This tends to happen with the Omni-Tell deck when it wins in very exorbitant fashion. I don't think Mike had much response to any of this, to be honest. And again, he's going to have a bit more reactionary hand in the post-board games to have a chance in this matchup. I believe we are moving on to game 2.
Sideboard.
No, it's the next turn, but he was going to friggin' kill himself.
It's okay. But yeah, so Dan's a little unfamiliar with the Omni-Tell deck, so some of his play is not necessarily the most fine-tuned, but he was able to cobble together the win there. It looks like Mike's going to bring in some Thought Seizes. Very good against these combo decks in Legacy. Let's see what else he's able to bring to the table. Looks like Flush Storm, another great spell in the matchup. It'll allow him to interact with his opponent on the stack, which is really important. I like the Golgari Charm I see in his sideboard, so that's actually a card I like bringing in the matchup too, because a lot of the time when they put Omniscience into play, they don't have a way to win at instant speed. And with the Golgari Charm, you can interact with the Omniscience before they win the game. So it is another card I think I like bringing in the matchup, though not always great.
Definitely if they go the Enter the Infinite route, you can respond by Golgari Charming the Omniscience. That way they have all of their cards in hand but are not able to cast them.
Yeah, and Surgical I like as well. The Omni-Tell deck is, unlike Sneak and Show, is a little more limited in the ways it wins. So I think that the Surgical will be very good. If he's able to snag Show and Tell, it takes away most of the Omni-Tell deck's way to win the game. And I see it looks like Pernicious Deed. Not particularly great in this matchup, but it could tag some of the Lotus Petals and other things he brings in. I don't think I really like it in this particular matchup, though. I don't think there's enough permanence in play normally for the Pernicious Deed to really do anything here. Obviously, not bringing it. It looks like he's taking out the Deed. Actually,
it looks like Mike's taking out a
he's
lot of the board control.
Taking out, Garrick,
Toxic Deluge.
Yeah, the cards that just don't really interact with the combo. Again, just these cards just aren't very good against what the Omni-Tell deck's doing. I think out Stifle, which I don't necessarily agree with. I think that the Omni-Tell deck is very reliant on its lands, and if you could Stifle a fetch land, just the ability to have the chance to do that, I think is worth keeping the card in. Though he might find that he has all his other cards are better in the matchup. All right. Yeah, I'm glad we got the nasty masterpiece / invocation artwork off the screen, because I don't know about you folks, but I do not believe those are very attractive. All right. Well, it looks like Dan's not. I don't think Dan's going to be bringing in much of anything, which is fine. This matchup is normally pretty good for him. The Sultai deck has a lot of tools to play a lot of different matchups in Legacy, whereas the Omni-Tell deck is very linear and focused. And most of its tools work the same in every matchup. He just needs to, try to have interaction on the stack.
And one of the great things about Omni-Tell is that running copies of Cunning Wish, Dan is still going to have access to a lot of those Silver Bullet sideboard cards that he, would have been sideboarding in.
Yeah, there's a lot of resilience in the Omni-Tell deck, which is the scary part about it a lot of the time, is that it's really hard to keep them off of their combo because they have so much redundancy between Intuition and Cunning Wish. They can search for the pieces they're missing at almost at all times. Well, that's why, honestly, again, the Surgical Extraction is very good in a matchup like this, and so the cards like Thoughtseize, because you can really pin them down on a certain type of combo piece they need. And with Surgical, you can potentially take it out of the game.
Most definitely.
So we're going to be we're shuffling up for game 2. I'm assuming Mike will be on the play. Again, I'm actually a little surprised. Life of the Loam was a card I expected him to take out in this matchup. Again, it doesn't feel like the Wasteland route is really the route he wants to go against the Omni-Tell deck, because it typically doesn't play its non-basic lands or its soul lands until it's usually trying to win the game. But again, I think there's a little bit of inexperience in the matchup on both ends of these players. Legacy is a format that a lot of people don't get to test very often, so there's a lot of variance in these matchups, and it's kind of hard to nail down every little right decision when it comes to sideboarding. Alright, well, so we're
Looks
going to
like
be shuffling up here.
Looks like we're ready to go, offering cuts, and we're going to go ahead and draw our opening 7.
Let's see if Dan can win in a quicker way this game, or if Mike can stave off the Eon's Torn.
Certainly, looking at changes we're going to make from game 1 as far as opening hands go, Mike is definitely going to be looking for a little bit more counterspell and hand interaction.
Yes. Alright, looks like he has a Surgical Extraction, Crop Rotation, Deathrite Shaman. I can't tell if he has any interaction for the stack. There's a blue card in his hand. It's a little hard to tell what it is here, but it looks like he's doesn't think it's good enough. He's going to ship it back. I agree with this decision for the most part. I think that the hand was missing a lot of interactive pieces. He had the Surgical, but no way to really look at the hand or interact with what was going on Dad's side, and I don't think that's good enough in the matchup. It looks like Dan has Emrakul. It looks like he has City of Traders.
Looks like, do I see...
Is it Enter the Infinite?
Into the Infinite.
It's hard to tell if he has a has a Show and Tell in hand or any other way to find it, but if he does, I think this hand's very good. It's like Dan's thinking about keeping it.
Asking for a ruling on City of Traders.
Let's just say that land isn't very loyal.
Most definitely not.
Alright, as you can see, the city gets really scared when other lands come into play, so it just runs off.
Is that... Does Dan have a Show and Tell?
It's hard to tell. I don't... Yeah, it looks like he does. Yeah, the third card in his hand is a Show and Tell, which means his hand is... It looks really good, though. I don't know if he has blue mana.
I thought I saw a Lotus Petal.
If he has a Lotus Petal, he's able to go off on the first turn, which I think is more than he could ask for in a lot of these matchups. So I think he has to keep a hand like that. Though I guess Force of Will could break it up. Though he has he might have his own response to that depending on everything else in his hand here.
Now here we see that Mike has
Force of Will, Golgari Charm, Wasteland,
Brainstorm.
This hand, does he have another? If he has another source of mana, I think this hand's worth keeping. It looks like he's going to keep, so we're going to be underway here.
And he's going to go ahead for
a get a Scry, yeah, put it to the bottom. Or it looks like, it's putting that to the bottom. It's probably fine. Liliana doesn't seem great here. He doesn't look like he has the mana to cast it right now. And he's going to fetch anyway. I'm a big fan of keeping on top when I fetch, just out of principle. There's no reason to move my deck around more than once. He's probably grabbing Underground Sea here. He might be leading off with a Ponder or even a Brainstorm in his hand. If he has Thoughtseize, that would be the ideal play here. It looks like he's just passing the turn. Okay. Fetching main phase, interesting. I'm a little curious as to why he didn't wait, but I guess this is fine. It looks like he's going to be brainstorming here. So he's brainstorming in response to Dan's fetch, it looks like. Interesting. Okay, it looks like he's going to put 2 back here. Alright, it looks like Dan just passed the turn here. Maybe Dan's probably waiting for another turn to set up his win here.
No, from what we've seen from his hand, he can just lead in with City of Traders next turn and...
Yeah, just try to go off. We'll see how it goes.
Make an attempt at the win.
It looks like it's a Brainstorm here. This would be really good for Mike here. He needs to fix his hand, looks like. Oh, no, it's Deathrite Shaman. That's acceptable enough. This Omni-Tell is so scary because it looks like he's safe in this position, but he could very well be dead this coming turn. And again, that's the explosiveness of the Omni-Tell deck. It can kill you with such a little base. It looks like City Traders coming into play. It looks like it's going to be a Show and Tell. We'll see what Mike has to say about this.
Dan attempts Show and Tell.
Looks like it's going to resolve, I think. It looks like. Yeah, it's resolving. Looks like he has Emrakul here, and that's a Wasteland. Luckily for, I guess Dan still has some outs to this. He has Caracas, he has Crop Rotation. There's ways for him to interact with this. Hopefully he's able to find it very soon, otherwise this is going to be another really short game. Alright, looks like he's going to take a draw. He found is that a Thoughtseize? No, it's a Thespian Stage.
Thespian Stage.
Oh, this is really heartbreaking.
It looks like we don't have an out here.
Yeah.
Mike is going to lose again to Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
Yeah, again, this is the scary part about Omni-Tell. It's so efficient. It's so able to win so really quickly. You have to have interaction super early in the game, otherwise the games tend to be this way. And Omni-Tell does a really good job of preying on these 3-color mid-range decks on Legacy. They even when you have cards like Force of Will, Stifle, and even comes as Counterspell in your deck, a lot of the time you don't always draw those cards, and when you don't, the Omni-Tell deck is really good at punishing you. Well, he has a bunch of spells that don't interact with Emrakul, unfortunately. So he's just going to have to pass a turn and watch his board and go to 0. So Dan's going to draw another City of Traders. Not really necessary. He doesn't really need his hand anymore. We'll see. He's probably just going to turn the Emrakul sideways, and that'll probably be the game. He's going to play the other city. His Mike's going to point out to him that the cities are not friends with each other. And one of them's going to run away. Looks like we're going to have a Lotus Petal here. You know, all right. Dan's attacking. There's going to be an Annihilator trigger. It's like
board.
Mike
only has 5 permanents.
Mike's going to go Gary Charm the Emrakul. May take 1 less damage. Gotta save what life you can. Or not. Maybe he's just going to take it. It's like he's debating it here. I think I'm willing to go for it here. Why don't you save yourself a point? Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
Sometimes you gotta let your opponent know.
Sometimes you gotta send a message.
Yeah, exactly. Though Golgari aren't gonna take this lion down here. Now he's gonna activate Deathrite Shaman. Looks like he's gonna take a land from Dan there. Okay, he's taking a land. And he's gonna wasteland him too. Yeah. See, I like this play. If you're gonna kill he's gonna kill his permanents. You might as well take him off some stuff. Sometimes you gotta get revenge.
Yeah. Trying to think of what Mike's outs are here. Does he have he has a Thespian stage, so I don't really
unfortunately, know. If he had had a crop rotation
or a land in hand.
Yeah, the problem with this board, he would have had to crop rotate last turn. The turn when the show, or if he had had a Thespian stage, you could have put in the playoff Show and Tell and had crop rotation in his hand. He could have made Merit Ledge and End Step, and then he could have actually forced the Emrakul to chump block, which would have been really interesting. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, he didn't have that. Again, when you're playing these Thespian stage Dark Depth 1-ofs in your mid-range deck, they do sometimes, it's a really powerful interaction to have, but also it kind of leads to some of your draws being a little clunkier at times. Thespian stage isn't really too great on its own, and obviously Dark Depths isn't either, so sometimes that's the cost of playing cards like that in your deck. And again, it looks like Emrakul is going to be tearing up some Aeons over here, and we're going to be finishing up this match. So Dan's casting Intuition, just he wants to drop some more salt in the wound. Just let him know that he's very dead here. Alright, looks like there's still an Annihilator trigger on the stack going on here. And now it's going to resolve. There goes all his permanents.
I mean, Dan can always make sure he has a backup plan. I mean, he doesn't know what Mike has in hand right now. If he has, access to a green source and a crop rotation, he can still crop rotate for Karakas here.
Or he can just draw the Karakas naturally, and that would actually... There it is, the crop rotation he needed...
that's heartbreaking.
2 turns ago in order to ensure this game in his favor. There's the Thespian stage too. Looks like there's nothing he can do here. He's going to draw him past the turn. Yeah, sadly, when the Omni-Tell deck, even if you're able to crack us the Emrakul here, there's so many ways he has to put it back into play or just go off a different way that it's so hard for him, especially after losing his entire board, to come back from a spot like this.
And it looks like Dan's going to continue to play.
Yeah, when you play a deck like Omni-Tell.
You're here for the flair.
Exactly. You're already usually winning the game with such exorbitant resources. Why not just have a little fun with it first? Just show him what you have. Show him what you got. Looks like that's gonna be the game, and he's gonna offer to shake his hand. That's it.
We're done.
Looks like Omni-Tell wins it in 2. Again, a pretty good matchup for Omni-Tell overall. I believe the Depth deck just doesn't have enough interaction for a matchup like this on average. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching.